Darren has always been a dreamer.
Flighty.
He's a go-getter, he makes things happen.
Very passionate person, just a bit ditzy.
Everyone knows about his, obviously, topless mini.
I used to tie this cape around his shoulders and put his snowboarding goggles on.
Top down with his surfboard.
His attention span maybe just seemed to be a bit short for uni.
I think he spent more hours in the library than the librarian did.
Darren would study through the night.
For the amount of work he put in, for the results he got out definitely weren't equal.
A lot of people knew him as the guy who didn't want to be sitting in the library but was sitting there anyway.
But there definitely was a change at some point.
Started to study differently.
And Darren told us that he could memorize numbers between 1 and 100, and he could remember phenomenal amounts. I can't remember how many. So we said, rubbish, Darren, you can't. So he said, well, try me. So we got a pen and a piece of paper out, and we were giving him numbers and writing them down, and he gave them back to us in order. Then he said to us, would you like me to do it in reverse? We said, come on, Darren, did it in reverse.
All the girls were like, wow, Darren, you're amazing. And I thought it was a trick, you know.
There was this one exam, I think it was an HR exam. He had to learn in one night the entire syllabus.
I hear this unbelievable noise, and it was Dee. He was standing at the door going, you know, Bose, I did it.
Started to see, like, actually this stuff is working.
He was better than all of us once he applied a few basic techniques.
And said to myself, he must be studying an easier degree. That must be the only explanation as to why I'm grafting. And he's out
Playing sport, being out there, snowboarding, going on adventures.
I often used to say to him, dude, I really would love to have your life, you know, because you seem to have the most adventurous, exciting life ever.
It's not often you can actually find someone who can surf as much as Darren and still sort of complete a degree in the time that he did.
It was one of my final law exams. Darren was the only person that got me through it.
And he taught us just basic principles of how to increase your memory. And that just blew everyone away.
The first time when he said, I'm going to the World Memory Champs.
I needed to hear that again.
I remember thinking, if he can do it, I can do it.
It's typically Darren, you know. If it's predictable, let's not do it.
Because it always seems like he's doing something like radical and out there.
He doesn't have a photographic memory.
It's definitely something he's learned.
He himself will tell you he's not an academic. He doesn't, you know, thrive in an academic environment. What he does thrive on is learning and knowledge. But it has to be done differently. It has to be Darren.
He's probably one of the most influential young people in this country.
The number one thing that people ask me, they look at me and they say, how do you do what you do? Everything that I know and that I teach people has been learnt. The pressure caused me to find answers. So somebody paying for my university, if that wasn't there, I don't know whether I would have actually put that much effort into finding answers. I think naturally people think it's these geeky, nerdy people. It's actually like people that are just interested in just pushing their brains and seeing stuff that would normally be viewed as impossible. The person I've spoken about the most, or just shared with people, is Dr. Yip. His name's Yip Shui Choi, like Dr. Yip Shui Choi. He's memorized the perfect order of the Oxford Dictionary, word for word, in English and Chinese. My initial feeling was, that is impossible. I remember the BBC crew, they were interviewing Dr. Yip.
Or serendipity. S-E-R-E-N. S-E-R-E-N-D-R-P.
Yes, this word in there. Serendipity. This word is in page, let me see, 1370.
He had the page number, he had the word on the page. He
Number 15, and indeed that is serendipity.
Yeah. Correct?
And correct. And what does it mean?
It means when you do something successfully, something like you're not purposely, but you know, success is something which you discover something in an accidental way.
Exactly. How long did it take you to memorize?
5.5 months.
Yeah. Full time or just?
No, not full time, of course.
I remember meeting Ben Pridmore. The fastest he's ever done a deck of cards is 24.9 seconds. When I met Karina Drushel in 2006, she was the world junior memory champion. so she could memorize on average 20 pages of her schoolwork in 10 minutes. There was a study done in 2002 that rocked the world of what was possible or what was known about the brain and memory, and it was done by Eleanor Maguire. Are these people gifted or not? That's what she wanted to figure out. She took 10 people from the street and 10 of the top competitors of the World Memory Champs. So what she figured out was that from the systems that the top guys in the world were using, it activated the most powerful parts of the brain, and hence the results followed from that. I realized that everyone was using the same systems that I had read about. The systems date more than 2,000 years ago. So it's really solid ancient systems that work, used at an international memory level by the top competitors in the world, built up over 20 odd years. So I think when you start to combine all that thinking and compound the intelligence of wrestling with and figuring out new ways of thinking based on solid systems, and then you combine that with what we know of the brain today and how it functions best, combining all of that stuff together, that's, in my opinion, where the magic lies. The biggest problem that almost all students face is that they study the majority of their work within a 2 to 3 day period of that exam. Or they study, say, 5 pages of work, and by the time they're on page 4 or 5, they've totally forgotten what's on page 1, 2 or 3. And the reason for this is simply that they have no idea how to commit information into their long-term memory. So every time they're learning, information's staying in their short-term, and that's why when they learn more information, it's simply getting overwritten. The reason it gets overwritten is simply because there's no systematic process or no strategic understanding of what's needed to take information into long-term to stay literally for as long as they want. Something I love to do to show people what's actually going on in their brains on a physiological level while they learn. To take a blob of toothpaste on, let's say, just ordinary blank CD covers. As you pull them apart, you can see on a physiological level, every single time you learn information, your brain actually physically changes shape. Anyone can do this, it's just knowing how to think differently.